Two player props here on PrizePicks. One MLB, one WNBA player prop. Again, we got the WNBA playoffs. I think the Eastern Conference Finals, and then MLB playoffs obviously is in full effect. Two massive NLDS games here today. I got one player prop MLB, one player prop WNBA. It's going to be a pair. It's going to be a 2.75x multiplier here. On PrizePicks, I just think there's value in the 2.75x's, only missing out on 0.25 of the multiplier, but securing a lot more value, I think, in the base or the floor of a player prop hitting. Before we get started, you guys take a look in the description below of the video. Hop into the premium Discord. $9.30 per month, 31 cents per day. Again, where I post all the plays I'm making on PrizePicks. Super positive community, and there you guys, everyone just trying to help each other cash. Also want to mention I'm not a gambling expert, and this is not financial advice. Simply just plays I'm personally looking at making. Hopefully give you guys some insight and analysis to make your own player prop decisions here. Again, no one's pressing submit on those parlays other than yourselves. Let's get right into it, you guys. I also want to talk about Daily Grind Fantasy really quickly. I know I do mention it in every video, but again, Elite DFS Optimizer, Elite betting research tool. They got the DFS Optimizer, DFS Middling, Fantasy Scores, AI slip generator. And again, if you're not on PrizePicks, you're on Underdog, or if you play on multiple platforms because you do line shop, Underdog, Rebet, Prop City, Sleeper, all these player prop or all these DFS sites, Daily Grind has it. So again, on PrizePicks right now, like the top play on the board is Wnba map 1 headshots under 4, 56.77 odds to hit. But like for example, kind of breaking this down here, the NFL board just dropped. And if we go to filter this to we filter this on the select all. We filter this by league. Then you can filter it by league here, and we filter it to NFL just to kind of see how it all breaks down here. The top play on the NFL board currently, right, would be again, and these lines change drastically very quickly. So no significant value right now currently, but you can see here like Brock Purdy over 1.5 passing touchdowns, 52.84 odds to hit, because again, it takes all the data from all the major sports books, and it's minus 135 on Caesars, minus 129 on Pinnacle, minus 140 on Fliff, right, minus 135 on Bovada. So otherwise, you'd have to go to all these different sports books and kind of check the odds to see if it's essentially a good play on PrizePicks. But DG Fantasy, Daily Grind, DFS Optimizer does all that hard work for you. So again, there's a link in the description below of the video. You get 25% off your first month using promo code TUFF. You guys, Daily Grind Fantasy, link in the description below. But let's get into it. Two player props, one MLB, one WNBA. Let's go. So the first one, it's going to be hits, runs, plus RBIs. And again, like I said, it's going to be a 2.75x multiplier. I think there's value. I'm looking at, where is he? Best player in baseball. I'm looking at Ohtani over 1.5 HRR. To me, this is the best value on the MLB board right now, because you compare it with a regular non-goblin or non-demon, and it's a 2.75x, which again, for Ohtani at 1.5 HRR in this spot, in this matchup, and really a must-win game for the Dodgers, I really do like it a lot. So really quickly, you can see here this matchup, Padres-Dodgers. San Diego is actually minus 155 to win this game here. This game is being played in San Diego. Walker Buehler versus Michael King. And I'm a Dodger fan personally. If there's any Dodger haters in here or watching these videos, I do apologize. I do not represent the fans that were at Game 2 at Dodger Stadium. That is not a representation of me as a fan, obviously, but nonetheless, that's irrelevant here. Michael King's pitching for the Padres. He's actually had a pretty decent year, but Ohtani matches up well, obviously, versus right-handers since 2022. Ohtani just hits the ball better versus righties as opposed to lefties, as most players do. They hit better, the opposite throwing pitcher to their what the stance they bat in. Since 2022, 309. This season, he batted 322, .411 OBP, and .717 slugging compared to what he hits, 518 against lefties. But again, the matchup is too elite. 14 of his last 20 games versus right-handers. Ohtani's over this line, averaging 4.15 hits, runs, plus RBIs. Again, this is also Outlier, you guys. There's a link in the description. You can get a 7-day free trial with Outlier. But 70% hit rate, 14 of his last 20 versus right-handers, averaging 4 HR, like I said. But this matchup versus Michael King is too elite. 15 plate appearances, he's batting .429, 6 hits, 3 home runs, 4 RBIs, right? Just elite hit rate. You can see how he's hitting right-handers. W 2.292 WOBA. Michael King has for his lefties, and then you can see the sinker. Ohtani hits .420, 420 against the WOBA versus the sinker, 416 against the changeup, 447 against the fastball, and 495 against the slider. So again, he really hits all of Michael King's pitch arsenal extremely well. And then just at the odds for this play as well here. I mean, we're talking about minus 155, minus 150 on BetMGM to go over 1.5 HRR. Again, I like the spot a lot here. I'm honestly surprised this is on the board, in my opinion. But yeah, hopefully the best player in baseball can come through here for us tonight. That's just plain and simple what it is. Okay, so second play is going to be a WNBA prop, fantasy score, and I got to go with Alyssa Thomas. I know maybe on YouTube and in the Discord, we've taken her a lot this season, and it's been up and down, right? She's had a weird season, but when Alyssa Thomas, when she plays aggressive, she's a fantasy score machine. 4.5 point favorites for Minnesota. This game's in Minnesota. This is a game 5. So straight off the bat, this is a must-win game. This is a win or go home for both teams. And, I mean, there's no question I think Alyssa Thomas plays 40-plus minutes in this one. And we look at kind of how this series is broken down for her this season, or so far. Both games in Minnesota, she cleared over this line, 48.5 and 44.5 fantasy points in the 2 games in Minnesota, 30.3 in game 3, and then 44.1. So over in 3 of 4 games in this series, finishing with 44-plus in 3 of 4 games. And again, she's played 36-plus minutes, but she's played 40 minutes twice in this series, which is, I think, a floor for her here. I don't think she plays anything less than, she may come out for like a minute or something, and I don't think she should be in any foul trouble either in this one, as she hasn't really been in foul trouble all season long. But we're looking at this matchup versus Minnesota, and it obviously presents a great matchup for her. Minnesota, just to forwards this season, they allow the most opponent assists, third most assists, most opponent rebounds, second most steals, fourth most blocks, and honestly, second most points, right? So we know power forwards, wing forwards versus Minnesota is kind of how you can beat them, or how you can be most effective against them offensively. And then we just kind of look at these games. I mean, we're talking about over in 3 of 4 this series, and if we go to the regular season, like look at this game's at home for Minnesota. She's had 48, 48, 44. Right, these are her 3 fantasy score games this season at Minnesota. Right? 48 points, 48 fantasy, 45, 48.5, and 44.5. And then how she faced Minnesota at home, 44, 30, 44, and 43. So she's faced Minnesota now, 7? She's over in 6 of 7 games versus Minnesota this season. If we kind of look this season, when she plays 30-plus minutes, she's over in 7 of 10 games, averaging 43.97 fantasy. We go back to last season in games she played 38 minutes, over in 16 of 25, averaging 45.72. And then if we just take a look at this as well, in games where she plays 38 minutes versus Minnesota, she's over in 9 of her last 10 games. She has a game last year versus Minnesota where she had 75 fantasy points. 75. 9 of her last 10 games versus Minnesota when she plays 38 minutes, she's over in 9 of her last 10, averaging 49.81 fantasy points. Even if we just break this down to like playing, let's just say, 31 minutes, she's still over in 12 of her last 13 versus Minnesota, averaging 48.49. Like, look at this hit rate. The only time she's missed is 30.3 here 2 days ago, or whenever that was, 4 days ago. So it's a great spot. A hit rate is just pause the video and look at this hit rate versus Minnesota. She presents a great matchup, matches up well versus them. Must win. This is like a win or go home game. So I like this spot. I like these pair here. Again, it's a 2.75x multiplier. $20 and she wins 55, or whatever your bet's gonna be. Again, please drop a like on this video. Check out Daily Grand Fantasy, link in the description, promo code TUFF. Hit the subscribe button, and as always, let's cash.